Part 1. The Forgotten Art in an Age of Noise, Rediscovering Machiavelli and the Power of Silence. Introduction. A world drowned in noise and the lost game of power. Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. Niccolò Machiavelli. This stark aphorism from the Florentine diplomat and thinker, spoken over 500 years ago, pierces the fog of history like a cold glint of light, striking precisely at the soft underbelly of our modern era. We live in a time that worships voice like never before. From the ceaseless tide of sharing and expressing on social media to the corporate mantras of constant communication and radical transparency, and the overemphasis on brutal honesty in personal relationships, we seem to have fallen prey to a grand illusion that to speak more is to be more sincere, to reveal more is to be more trustworthy, to react faster is to be more capable. We have constructed a world that appears efficient, open, and interconnected, built upon a sea of data packets and sound waves. Yet, beneath this cacophonous ocean, we have collectively forgotten one of the oldest, most subtle, and most formidable tools in human interaction: strategic silence. While everyone else is busy announcing their intentions, broadcasting their thoughts, and revealing their strategies, the truly effective operators, the insiders who understand the mechanics of power, know when they must shut their mouths. They see silence not merely as a shield, but as a weapon, an invisible, sharp, and precise instrument. This weapon, though noiseless, can dismantle an opponent's will, shape the perceptions of others, and ultimately secure victory while others are still chattering about how to win. Machiavelli, the cold-blooded anatomist of the operating table of power. To truly grasp the power of silence, we must return to its master, Niccolò Machiavelli. He was no ivory tower philosopher, but a pragmatist forged in the crucible of 15th and 16th century Renaissance Florence. It was an age of violent upheaval, defined by conspiracy, betrayal, and shifting alliances. City-states warred ceaselessly, and popes and princes played a ruthless game for power. In such an environment, a careless word or an ill-timed statement could cost not just one's reputation, but one's freedom, or even one's life. Machiavelli himself was a victim of political strife, having been stripped of his office, imprisoned, and tortured. It was this baptism by fire that gave him his uniquely surgical, almost brutally precise insight into human nature and power. His most famous work, The Prince, is less a textbook for monarchs and more a raw, unflinching manual on the operations of power. While it is filled with explicit advice on wielding force and cunning, its most profound and subversive wisdom is often found in its implications about what should not be said. Machiavelli understood that language is a double-edged sword. It can build alliances, but it can also expose weaknesses. It can craft a glorious facade, but it can also create a deadly prison. He wrote, "The vulgar crowd is always taken by appearances and the result of a thing, and in the world there is no one but the vulgar." This reveals a core principle. Most people judge based on the appearance they can see and hear, while true reality must be touched through a deeper perception. Speech creates the consumable appearance for the masses, while silence guards the reality accessible only to the few. In our age of information overload, where everyone jockeys to be a thought leader, we need Machiavelli's prudence more than ever. Even if our world is less immediately lethal than Renaissance Florence, the costs of careless speech remain immense. They are the leverage lost at the negotiating table, the vulnerabilities exposed in a corporate rivalry, the credibility squandered in the court of public opinion, or the mystique and respect eroded in a personal relationship. To master strategic silence, therefore, is not merely to learn a communication tactic. It is to embark on a profound discipline of self-mastery. It is a modern power game aimed at navigating human nature, controlling situations, and ultimately maintaining clarity and strength in the midst of the noise. This forgotten art awaits rediscovery and deployment by those who aspire to transcend the commonplace and perceive the true nature of things. Part 2. The Three Realms of Silence. A modern analysis of Machiavelli's strategic arsenal. Machiavellian silence is not mere quietude or passive inaction. It is an active, precise, and highly purposeful communication strategy. Like a master chess player, every moment of silence is deeply considered and pregnant with intent. We can distill this complex art into three core types, or realms, each serving a distinct strategic function. To understand and master these three realms is to transform this ancient tool of power into an invaluable asset in modern life. Realm 1. The silence of intelligence. Gathering, let your opponent's words be your map. What wise men do at once, fools finally do. Niccolò Machiavelli. This quote highlights the wisdom of timing one's actions. But before any action, information is paramount. The silence of intelligence gathering is engineered for this purpose. Its core principle is this: by remaining silent, you create an expansive space for others to speak, tempting them to fill that void. In doing so, you gather maximum intelligence about their positions, motives, weaknesses, and bottom lines, all without revealing your own. The fool speaks first, eager to showcase his opinions, and in the process, bleeds information while learning nothing. The wise man, however, chooses to listen, allowing his counterpart to perform first. The psychological mechanics, the vacuum effect, and cognitive load. This form of silence works by exploiting deep-seated human tendencies. First is the vacuum of silence effect. In a conversation, an unexpected pause creates discomfort and anxiety. Most people instinctively rush to fill this vacuum, continuing to talk, adding details, and even volunteering unsolicited information simply to break the awkward stillness. Second, sustained speaking increases the speaker's cognitive load. As a person continually formulates sentences and expresses ideas, their mental resources for strategic thinking and defense are diverted. They become more prone to logical slips or emotional tell-all, of which are invaluable pieces of intelligence for the silent observer. Modern applications. Business negotiation. In a critical negotiation, you make an initial offer. The other party finds it unacceptable. A Machiavellian strategist does not immediately argue, concede, or offer justifications. Instead, you hold their gaze calmly and remain silent. This silence projects pressure and unwavering confidence. To break the stalemate, the other party will likely begin to explain why they find the offer high, revealing their budget constraints, their true concerns, or their internal pressures. These spontaneous words often contain more truth than their prepared statements, giving you the precise data needed to adjust your strategy. Corporate leadership. A new manager faces a team riddled with complaints. Instead of rushing to placate them or propose solutions, he holds a meeting where he simply listens. After each person speaks, he nods, takes notes, and uses neutral prompts like, "Could you elaborate?" or "Is there anything else?" while maintaining his own silence. He not only gathers a complete picture of the team's issues, but also observes the interpersonal dynamics, individual core motivations, and true lines of influence. This silence prevents him from making flawed decisions based on incomplete information and paves the way for effective leadership. Realm 2. The silence of authority building. The scarcity of your words creates their value. It is much safer to be feared than loved because of the baseness of men, who are less hesitant to offend one who makes himself loved than one who makes himself feared. Niccolò Machiavelli. Fear, in this context, is not about terror, but about profound respect and awe. This awe is born of distance and mystery, and excessive speech is the fastest way to dissolve it. The silence of authority building works by reducing unnecessary pronouncements, making every utterance impactful and final. Your words are a currency. Issue them, and they devalue. A leader who is constantly talking will find their words diluted. A leader who is sparing with their words will find that their brief statements are treated as definitive judgments. The psychological mechanics, scarcity, and the halo effect. This power stems from the scarcity principle. When a resource, in this case a leader's pronouncements, is scarce, its perceived value skyrockets. People listen more intently and interpret more deeply. Furthermore, silence can trigger the halo effect. A person who remains calm, composed, and silent is often perceived as wise, controlled, and in command of the situation. In the absence of information, others fill in the blanks with their own often positive and respectful assumptions. Modern applications. Visionary leadership. Steve Jobs was a master of this realm. Outside of his iconic product launches, he rarely spoke to the press. He cultivated an aura of mystery. Internally, he was known not for dominating meetings with talk, but for listening intently and then, with a few decisive words, setting a new direction or asking a paradigm-shifting question. His silence made him seem inscrutable, while his rare words carried immense weight, solidifying his legendary status as a leader. Expert branding. In fields like art, academia, or high-level consulting, the most respected figures are often not the most vocal. They don't engage in every online debate, but let their work, their research, and their occasional, carefully worded insights speak for them. This restraint enhances their mystique and authority. The public assumes their silence is a sign they are focused on creating something of immense value, which in turn elevates their perceived status. Realm 3. The silence of ambiguity. Preservation. Maintain maximum freedom in uncertainty. A prince must imitate the fox and the lion, for the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Niccolò Machiavelli. The fox's cunning lies in its unpredictability. The silence of ambiguity preservation is the embodiment of this fox-like wisdom. Its purpose is to maintain strategic ambiguity on key issues, refusing to make a clear statement to avoid being prematurely locked into a position. This preserves maximum freedom of action and maneuverability. When everyone else is forced to choose between yes and no, the one who can remain silent and undefined holds the power to observe, wait, and strike at the most opportune moment. The psychological mechanics, delayed choice, and multiple interpretations. The strategic value here is delayed choice. By not immediately committing, you postpone your decision, allowing time for new information to emerge, or for the situation to evolve in your favor. Moreover, ambiguity allows for multiple interpretations. Different stakeholders can project their own hopes onto your silence, enabling you to maintain a fragile peace or broad support without alienating any single group. Modern applications. Politics and diplomacy. This is a classic political tool. When asked about a divisive issue, a savvy politician might say, "We are monitoring the situation closely and remain open to all viable solutions." This is a form of strategic silence. It makes no concrete promise, avoids immediate backlash, and allows different constituencies to hear what they want to hear, buying precious time and political capital. Corporate strategy. A tech company developing a disruptive new technology might face inquiries from competitors. By neither confirming nor denying specific features, by remaining ambiguous, they prevent rivals from developing effective countermeasures and simultaneously build market anticipation. In summary, these three realms of silence, the listener's tool for intelligence, the leader's tool for authority, and the strategist's tool for flexibility, form a powerful and sophisticated system. They are not isolated tactics, but can be fluidly combined and adapted. Mastering them marks the transition from a reactive speaker to a proactive shaper of events, a modern strategist who understands when to speak and, more importantly, when to remain silent. Part 3. The shackles of words. How overexpression becomes a modern strategic disaster. Our culture has all but deified transparency. We are constantly urged to share our feelings, confess our mistakes, and publicize our processes. A Machiavellian observer, however, would view this blind devotion to transparency as the most dangerous strategic trap of modern times. Unrestrained speech does not bring strength. It forges heavy shackles that bind us to unfavorable positions. Overexpression is a strategic catastrophe, affecting individuals and organizations alike. Shackle 1. The trap of commitment. Premature words. Forfeited flexibility. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. This controversial statement reveals Machiavelli's cold appraisal of commitment. He understood that circumstances are fluid, and today's promise can easily become tomorrow's liability. Every time you make a public statement or a promise without absolute certainty or necessity, you are shackling your future actions to the expectations of others. Real-world reflections. The workplace promise. A junior employee, eager to impress, declares in a project meeting, "I guarantee the initial designs will be done by Friday." While this may earn temporary praise, it eliminates all room for maneuver. When a more brilliant idea emerges on Wednesday, or an unexpected technical issue arises, they are trapped. They must either submit a rushed, mediocre product to meet the deadline or risk being seen as unreliable. Had they used more ambiguous language, "I will do my utmost to provide a strong direction this week," they would have retained the flexibility to adapt. The entrepreneur's grand pronouncement. Founders often overpromise during fundraising, painting detailed, grandiose pictures of their future product. This attracts attention, but becomes damning evidence when market conditions shift or technical hurdles appear. They become hostages to their own words, unable to pivot without losing credibility, and may be forced down a path to failure. Shackle 2. Cognitive nudity exposing your mind, arming your enemies. Language is the clothing of thought. When you meticulously explain the logic behind every decision and detail your entire thought process, you are, in effect, performing a cognitive striptease for your adversaries. You are not just revealing your current strategy, you are exposing your entire mental model: how you analyze problems, what information you prioritize, and where your blind spots lie. Real-world reflections. Competitive analysis. If a CEO frequently gives detailed post-mortems of their successes, their competitors can reverse engineer their decision-making patterns. They learn what data the CEO values and what they overlook, allowing them to craft strategies that exploit these very weaknesses. Every over-explanation is a free consulting session for your rival. Office politics. You explain to your boss in great detail why your proposal is superior. In your quest for clarity, you inadvertently reveal a bias or a negative perception of a colleague. This honest information becomes ammunition that can be twisted and used against you. You sought support through communication, but instead provided the weapons for your own downfall. Shackle 3. The evaporation of authority, excessive speech. Vanishing mystique. Authority and charisma depend heavily on a sense of mystique, of not being fully understood. When a person talks too much, explains too much, and responds to every challenge, they transform from an intimidating enigma into an easily read instruction manual. This transition from the unknown to the known is where authority begins to evaporate. Real-world reflections. The responsive leader. A leader who responds in detail to every criticism may seem engaged, but they are consistently lowering their own status. They are placing themselves on the same level as their critics, engaging in a debate rather than issuing a judgment. The implicit message is, "My authority is up for discussion," not, "My authority is final." Over time, their team will be more inclined to challenge them than to follow them. The social media oversharer. Experts or public figures who comment on every trend and share every mundane detail of their lives may initially gain followers, but this constant exposure makes them predictable and ordinary. Their professional aura and mystique are consumed by the daily deluge of trivial content. Escaping the transparency trap. Machiavelli's lesson is a warning against the modern, unconditional praise of transparency. This is not a call for deceit, but for strategic prudence. True power lies not in letting others know everything about you, but in knowing as much as possible about them while selectively revealing yourself. Your silence can preserve your freedom to pivot, conceal your most potent mental weapons, and maintain your unassailable authority. In an age where everyone is desperate for the microphone, the wisdom lies in knowing when to put it down, step back, and observe. For when words become chains, silence is the only key. Part 4. The Discipline of Silence: A Practical Guide to Forging Machiavellian Strength in Modern Life. Understanding the theory of strategic silence is one thing. Applying it under the pressures of daily life is another. It requires deliberate practice and immense self-discipline. This is not about becoming cold or reclusive, but about evolving into a more perceptive and influential communicator. Here is a practical guide to translating Machiavelli's ancient wisdom into modern, actionable steps. Discipline 1. Practice information asymmetry transition from speaker to listener. Core principle. In any significant interaction, your primary goal should be to know more than you reveal. Cultivate the habit of asking questions. In meetings or important conversations, resist the urge to state your opinion first. Instead, guide the dialogue with open-ended questions. Instead of saying, "I think this plan is too risky," ask, "What do you see as the greatest potential challenges with this approach?" Or, "How can we effectively hedge against those risks?" By asking questions, you seed the floor, compelling them to think and speak while you enter intelligence-gathering mode. Embrace the awkward pause. After someone finishes speaking, do not immediately reply. Intentionally pause for 3 to 5 seconds. Use this time to think and, more importantly, to observe their reaction. As noted, most people will rush to fill this void, often with more candid information. This simple technique is incredibly powerful in interviews, sales, and any fact-finding mission. Debrief your conversations. After every important interaction, take a few minutes to reflect. Ask yourself, what new information did I gain? What potentially unnecessary information did I expose? If I could do it again, where would I have chosen silence or a different question? This conscious debriefing will sharpen your strategic awareness. Discipline 2. Cultivate strategic ambiguity. Find the balance between clarity and vagueness. Core principle. The goal is not to deceive, but to preserve maximum strategic flexibility until the situation is fully understood. Use framing language. When a statement is required but the timing is not yet right for a firm commitment, use broad, principled language rather than specific operational promises. For example, if asked about a future product roadmap, respond with, "Our core strategy is to relentlessly create exceptional value for our users, and all of our product development is aligned with that vision." The statement is positive and directional but reveals nothing concrete, preserving future options. Master the non-committal response. When faced with a direct request you don't wish to immediately grant or deny, use a non-committal response. That's a very important suggestion, and I'll need some time to analyze its full implications. Or, "I understand your concern. Let's gather more data before making a final decision." This shows respect while effectively delaying your final stance. Differentiate your audiences. Be more transparent internally to build team trust, but maintain a higher level of ambiguity externally with competitors, the media, or even other departments. Knowing what to share, and with whom, is critical to maintaining a strategic edge. Discipline 3. Build the authority of silence. Let your actions speak louder than your words. Core principle. Your value is determined not by how much you say, but by what you accomplish and by the timing and weight of your words. Reduce meaningless social noise. Audit your social media and casual conversations. Are you opining on every issue? Are you sharing personal details that do not contribute to your core value proposition? Reduce this noise and focus your public voice on your areas of genuine expertise. Make each utterance count. Respond with results, not rebuttals. When faced with criticism, resist the temptation to offer a lengthy defense. Often, the most powerful response is not verbal, but tangible. Quietly absorb the pressure, then deliver an outstanding result that renders the criticism irrelevant. This approach builds a more resilient and respected form of authority than any argument could. Practice ceremonial speech. In group settings, consciously manage when and how you speak. Don't be the person who always talks first or longest. Choose your moments when a discussion is deadlocked or when a summary is needed, and deliver your points with brevity and force. Let your speech become an event, a signal that the conversation has reached a pivotal moment. The final irony and the true victory. The final irony of Machiavelli's strategic silence is that its most successful practitioners often go unnoticed. We are drawn to the loud, the expressive, the transparent. But the masters of silence are operating on a different plane. They are achieving their objectives, often without drawing attention to their methods. They shut up and win while others are still talking about winning. Machiavelli's strategy of silence offers a counterintuitive path to influence. Say less, observe more, reveal selectively, and let your results speak louder than your words. In the endless competition for attention and power, those who master this approach don't just participate, they prevail.